In this playthrough of Pokemon Radical Red, I'm going to attempt to beat the game with only status moves. No, wait, that wouldn't be that interesting since the AI can't play around Toxic Protect Stall. Okay, I got it. I'm gonna try to beat the game with only attacking moves. No, that's not right either. Only HM moves? Doesn't sound very engaging. No new moves? It might be kind of fun since there are all 8 generations of Pokemon in the game, but that's not really the hardcore challenge I'm looking for. Actually, maybe a hardcore Nuzlocke would do. Well, the game already has a level cap, 4 set mode, and no items are allowed in trainer battles anyway, so maybe not. If only there were some way to combine all of these challenges together. I got it! I'll combine all of these challenges together. Can you beat Pokemon Radical Red without attacking moves, status moves, no new moves, only HM moves, no items in battle, on set mode, while obeying the game's soft level cap on version 2.1? In other words, can you beat Pokemon Radical Red without using any moves in battle? This might sound a little crazy, considering this is a difficult, while still being fair ROM hack, but I actually did this in Pokemon HeartGold already, and it's my favorite challenge on the channel to date. So as long as I remember the strategies I used there, with some I've used in other challenges, that should be enough to get me through a decent portion of the game. What was I doing again? I can't seem to remember anything. I know. Well, I know at least 2 of these are inevitable, so this must be a special ROM hack where only the player can select moves. Time to partake in my favorite pastime of beating the game exactly how it was intended. I just picked Bulbasaur because he's cool. I mean, which starter I pick here isn't too important. I think Squirtle's the worst choice because it would make one fight a lot harder. So, after a lot of consideration about the future ramifications of my choice, I picked Bulbasaur because he's cool. So far so good. As long as I can get out of here and catch some Pokemon, I'll be able to prepare for battles. Rival 1? Come on, let me out of here. You can smell me later. I'm sure no one's surprised that in the first rival battle, every option other than fight does nothing and doesn't end my turn, making this one impossible to get through without moves. I had the option of minimizing my moves here, but instead I thought losing the fight on purpose so I get no benefit would be better, so it's just like it never happened. And now that I remember how to use moves, I'll be able to use them to beat the game. Was again note? Well, 2 of them. Moves, prize, pastime, and I don't know much, and my head hurts all the time. But I do know one thing. The professor is so kind to me. After delivering his parcel, and only getting attacked by a couple of wild monsters along the way, he gives me some Pokeballs. Catching Pokemon not only gets me more members for my team, it also awards experience. With the level cap, I'll need more than just experience to win trainer battles, so I give up. Challenge over. Dislike the video, leave a mean comment. You can stay on YouTube, but you can't stay here. I think I was starting to remember something. That's right. I think I've done something like this before and used Poison Point to damage foes that make contact with me. With this knowledge, I catch multiple Pidoo with that ability. For now, I lead with a Pidgey, whose ability Frisk allows me to know when a wild Pokemon is holding an item. I can catch them and sell the item for money that I'll need for all the Pokeballs I use. I catch Pokemon with pickup for the same reason. For wild Pokemon, we already know catching is the best way to get experience, but I feel like finishing this challenge before completing task number 2 on my to-do list, so I'm going to allow myself to use moves for grinding on wild encounters. An exception to this will be dens, since you can't catch the Pokemon there until they're defeated, and I'm not trying to do anything that would be impossible in this challenge, just speed it up a little bit. Don't worry guys, it'll still take a long time. Before entering Viridian Forrest, I catch some Wooloo since Fluffy will help me tank physical attacks. While running there, I encounter a Joltik, who I fail to run from on the first turn, giving it an opportunity to set up Spiderweb, preventing me from running and switching. Remember to save often, kids. There's a mandatory fight against a bug catcher, but I can poison his Grubbin thanks to him making contact with Badoo and switch around while waiting for it to faint, so it's no issue. Before leaving the forest, Brendan challenges me to a good old classic no moves battle. Hey wait, why does he get to use moves and I can't? Oh well, I was ready for this. The first 3 contact moves don't activate my 30% poison point, and I already took too much damage, so I restart. This time I get it on my first try. I pivot between Wooloo and Badoo to lower damage taken, and he switches to Trico that knows Pound, Quick Attack, Absorb, and Leer. For whatever reason, he just keeps using Leer. 5 minutes of fun pass until he's finally out of those. He switches back and forth a couple times before Corphish faints due to poison. As long as Badoo isn't at the start of the turn, Trico won't use Absorb, so he'll get poisoned soon enough. I continue switching between Badoo and Wooloo, so he'll be dealing and healing the least amount of damage, leading to a victory. Now that I'm at Pewter City, me and my team need to fight Valkner. Yes, as I was saying, for this fight I need Pokemon with the ability Intimidate. Route 2 is home to Pokemon that can have this ability, like this glitched yellow Shinx. Hey, here's a fun game that has no ulterior motives. Guess in the comments how many shiny Pokemon I run into while grinding in this challenge. If you get it right, I'll give you a heart, which I almost never do. The shiny Shinx didn't actually have Intimidate though, so I had to replace it with 2 regular ones. Valkner's flying type Pokemon are pretty strong against my team, since my Badoos are weak to their stab moves. Intimidate does mostly alleviate this issue, but one of the things about the AI in this game that's unlike the boss AI in HeartGold is that they will switch if their stats get lowered too much. If this happens, he'll be dealing damage to me while I accomplish nothing, which will eventually result in a loss. I can get an easy poison point turn 1 by switching from Shinx to Badoo on an incoming quick attack. By switching around in a way to mitigate damage, he'll switch to Wingull. Then, since Wooloo is sent in on the same turn, he'll immediately switch to Corvisquire, since it has a stronger stab move, along with a sharp beak. Oh yeah, the AI also switches for better matchups, so I have to keep that in mind too. And then when Shinx is sent in, he switches to Fletchling, since it has normally effective moves. This kind of thing will happen a lot. After a couple more turns of poison damage, we'll switch back to Wingull. This time I don't switch in Wooloo. I set up 1 Intimidate before switching between Badoos until Wing Attack activates Poison Point. Even though it takes a ton of tries, Wormberries keep my team healthy enough where I can still win if Poison Point doesn't take too long to work against Corvisquire. Since Wingull and Corvisquire have Roost, they'll survive even longer, allowing them to hit my Pokemon even more. To reduce damage taken, I switch between Shinx and Badoo so they're hit by not very effective moves. Getting the crap beat out of your Pokemon comes with certain advantages. Besides being funny, since they're low enough to be taken out by a move that is normally effective, aka the move that will be selected at the start of the turn, Wingull only uses Roost once, and that time he used it was when he was only missing like 1/8 of his health. After Wingull faints, he switches back into Fletchling, who stays in until fainting himself for the same reason. That's really good, because now Corvisquire can't switch to remove his attack debuff. Fortunately, Poison Plant works first try, and by using the same low health trick one last time, he only uses Roost once before fainting. Now, I can enter the Peter Gym, but as I walk towards Brock, I can't help but remember something once told to me. And as much as I hate to admit it, he's right. But I'll be back. Even if it takes 10,000 years, I'll train my team and beat Brock. I'm finally ready. This team was carefully crafted to beat Brock without needing a single move. I will catch up to you. Rock Tomb won't do you any good, Brock. That's what Rockruff is here to resist. Wait, Rock doesn't resist Rock? Am I gonna Pokemon? No, it must be the amnesia. That's the only explanation. The strategy I started with has a flying type in on the first turn as I switch to Badoo on the incoming spark. If I don't get the poison turn 1, I just restart since that's an almost guaranteed loss and it's early in the fight anyway. I didn't immediately get a Pokemon that resists Rock, but it is necessary since the most damage I take throughout this fight comes from Rock Tomb. Although the move has 95% accuracy, meaning it can miss, expecting it to miss enough for it not to be an issue is way too unlikely. Same goes for expecting good luck by never getting hit by a critical hit. In fights that last 30 minutes to an hour and 15 minutes like this one, where your opponent hits you non-stop, you're going to get hit by at least a few critical hits. With my current team, I switch between Shinx and Badoo to lower attack, while my least important Pokemon get damaged. He switches into Vulpix before Geodude faints. She doesn't have any contact moves, but she does have a very exploitable moveset. It consists of Ember, Will-O-Wisp, and Confuse Ray. Since the only move that affects my Flash Fire Pokemon confuses, and I switch every turn to remove the status condition, Vulpix will eventually be forced to struggle. But before that can happen, he'll switch into Onix. Onix only has 2 moves, Rock Tomb and Bulldoze. This moveset destroys my current team, but I start to see a strategy based around being immune to Bulldoze. I switch out my Pidgey for Staravia with Intimidate and Wooloo for another Shinx. By switching between these two, I'll be immune to Bulldoze and take little damage from Rock Tomb, but it's still a bit too much that I'll eventually get chipped down enough and lose. This time, I get a Pokemon that actually resists Rock, and after training it up, decide to try out a different strategy. Instead of needing 2 Flash Fire Pokemon to play around multiple Rock Tomb crits, I have one and paralyze the rest of my team so they can't get burned. I was saving this strategy for later since it's useful in virtually every fight. Well, actually, no, I remembered it suddenly. I decided to use this strategy now because this way I also have a way to waste my turn without switching, which may come up. When your Pokemon is paralyzed, asleep, or flinched, even though you select a move, you don't use PP and the text says your Pokemon is paralyzed, asleep, or flinched instead of your Pokemon used, and then insert whatever move. So I don't count it. Hey, if you don't like that, sorry. I don't make the rules. My Pokemon using Struggle and hitting themselves in Confusion are banned since these both have the Pokemon use a move with base power. Even though Confusion is more of a gray area, I'll ban it with my rule set just to be safe. After poisoning Geodude, I switch to Shinx and then Mankey, who both get hit by Rock Tomb. I switch Mankey second since his health is the most important in this fight. Once Onix is sent in, I switch between Staravia and Mankey so that Staravia will be unaffected by Bulldoze and Mankey will resist Rock Tomb. This is where critical hits matter most, but a single one is usually fine. Staravia having Intimidate for lowering attack, combined with the Oranberry healing, are both key to winning this battle. I'll be summing up long portions of fights where I do the same thing for like 10 minutes straight for the sake of the video. If you're interested, I'll be uploading full boss fights in a separate one. Onix runs out of the 15 PP move Rock Tomb before the 20 PP move Bulldoze. So once he's left with only 5 PP, all in the move Bulldoze, while the unaffected Pokemon Staravia is in, he'll finally switch out. He always chooses Geodude in this situation and lets it faint to poison damage, but not before dealing a lot of damage to my team. Next in is Vulpix once again. This time, he'll use all of her Confuse Ray PP before switching back into Onix. By switching to Staravia on the same turn this happens, he'll switch right back out into Vulpix. This is how I PP stall her for Struggle. So the switching order is Staravia on the Onix turn, Badoo on the turn he switches to Vulpix, and Houndour on the turn Vulpix attacks. Repeat more times than I want to count, and Vulpix will eventually be out of PP for every move except Will-O-Wisp. Before using it, since my Pokemon have statuses already, he switches to Onix to use the last 5 PP of Bulldoze, which can still be countered by switching into Staravia on the turn he uses them. He finally struggles, but there's a problem. He stops doing that. The AI prioritizes infinitely switching between the two Pokemon with Struggle, rather than using it with a low health Onix and full health Vulpix. So a 40-minute attempt that I thought I planned perfectly for just went down the drain. Very cool. Unfortunately for me, I didn't have the foresight to try and poison the Onix, since I didn't think that would be an issue. Now that Onix is going to faint before Vulpix runs out of PP, I go back to my double Houndour strategy. Once I finally get back to this part of the fight, I luckily get the poison on the first struggle. Now, even if he switches around, Onix will still be taking damage, so I can guarantee my victory from here. Sure enough, he does just that, but Onix eventually faints. Now, by switching between my two Houndours, Vulpix's moves all have no effect. She starts struggling as well, and with nothing to switch to, will continue doing it until fainting, earning me the Boulder Badge and a TM which will make for a great paperweight. When I go to leave that battlefield filled with memories of friends and sacrifice, can't help but chuckle. After all, light years measures distance. So yeah, takeaway from Brock is that gym leaders are going to be pretty tough and are not going to struggle themselves to death. Surely random trainer battles won't be that bad though. I remember a day when I was that naive too. The first trainer battle on Route 3 demonstrates why that won't be the case. I need a specific team for most of these trainers, which is already pretty annoying and challenging, but the main issue with these trainers is that they use a different AI. This doesn't really matter for the Dottler that has Light Screen, Reflect, Struggle Bug, and Confusion, as Psychic type doesn't affect Houndour, meaning he'll always use Struggle Bug the turn it's in, so I can switch to a Pokemon to resist it. After Dottler runs out of attacking moves, I have to stall it out of the two screens. It stays into Struggle since non-boss AI doesn't switch around like gym leaders do. I'm rewarded for my efforts with the Spuda who only knows Harden and Protect. 5 minutes of my life I'll never get back later, and Snom is sent in last. This is where the main difference with non-boss AI comes into play. Snom has the moves Struggle Bug and Powder Snow. If this were a boss, switching between a Pokemon that resists Powder Snow and doesn't resist Struggle Bug with a Pokemon that resists Struggle Bug and doesn't resist Powder Snow would work perfectly fine, where I take minimal damage to both moves and survive long enough for Struggle to kick in. Since this trainer is not a boss, it uses what's typically called bad AI. More like bad for me AI, because this means these trainers will not always select the move that's best in the given situation. In this example, by switching between my Bug Resist and Ice Resist Pokemon, they'll sometimes get hit by the move they don't resist, and in Staravia's case, get hit by a move that's super effective against him. This whittles down my team so much that I lose before Snom's even halfway out of PP. I catch 2 of the only Pokemon available right now that resist both moves, Pansear. Now, by switching between them, I guarantee resist whatever move is used, and soon enough Struggle Bug gets replaced by Struggle. A lot of other non-boss trainers have these same issues, but I'm going to be skipping over most of them for the sake of time and interest. The further the game gets, the easier these fights tend to go. Oh look, another TM, haha, those are useless in this playthrough, haha, get it? Oh wait, this one contains teleport. That's actually gonna save me a lot of time. In Mount Moon, I catch a Sandile with Intimidate, whose typing makes her more useful than Staraptor in certain situations. I need to beat this Rocket Grunt, whose Zubat can't be poisoned. So I also catch a Slugma with Flame Body. This will be the superior way of dealing damage, since it also lowers attack, just like before. Never mind, only burn the foes when they can't be poisoned. The Fossil guy has a problematic team that'll need specific Pokemon to counter. Starting with Steel-type Pokemon to ignore the Poison-type attack, Sludge. The only way to get a Steel-type at this point is by finding one at a max raid den. I can't use moves, but my partner for the raid can. I pick May because of her Combustion that can easily take out a Steel type while I lower his attack. The Grimer also has Mud Slap, so switching between 2 Steel types doesn't work. Switching between a Flying type and a Steel type does, however. Bad Trainer AI chooses randomly between a normally effective move and a not very effective move, but if they have a move that doesn't affect the Pokemon that's in at the start of the turn, they won't use it. Once Grimer is out of attacking moves, I continue stalling him until he struggles. Next in is Slugma with Incinerate, Ember, and Rock Throw as his relevant moves. I switch between Houndour and Sandile to lower damage taken. If Incinerate is used on Houndour, he'll always use Rock Throw next, which will hit Sandile, who lowers attack and resists it. Slugma will sometimes use Rock Throw on the turn I switch to Houndour, but with the lowered attack and low chance, since Incinerate and Harden are both more likely to be used on this turn, it's not a big enough problem. After Slugma runs out of Rock Throw, switching between 2 Houndours allows me to stall Slugma out of PP. Last in is Flappy, whose only attacking moves are electric type, so switching between my 2 ground types is enough to struggle stall her. After beating that super nerd, I'm allowed to pick a fossil. I know it's usually a meme, but my choice actually matters here. So which fossil did I pick? Just kidding, it doesn't matter, so I won't show it. The fight against Archer has an Impidimp who always leads with Fake Out, which by now I'm sure you know why that's so good for me. He'll always use Thunder Wave next, followed with spamming Draining Kiss, so it's best to switch between Badoos while this happens. He'll switch to Mightyena before fainting, who I can bait into using Ice Fang. If I don't get the poison on the first hit, then I have to restart. Same goes for the Impidimp's Fake Out, but that's an early reset, so it's not as big of a deal. If you poison the Mightyena, even though lowering attack would seem like enough to stall the poison, She often uses Howl, which may sound like a free turn for me while she still takes damage. It actually forces me to switch between Intimidate users who are both weak against Ice Fang, which she'll use on turn she doesn't use Howl. This is made worse by her held Citrus Berry and the random nature of her attacks, which can cause one of my Intimidate Pokemon's health to be much lower than the other, which will make it so that I can't switch between them every turn. The last Pokemon is Houndour, who has to get poisoned early as well. Switching in a way that lowers attack too much to increase the number of hits my Poison Point Pokemon can take is risky, because as early as -2, Archer will switch back into Impidimp, who still has over half health. He'll still attack in the same pattern as before, only this time he won't switch out, meaning he'll also heal with his held Oranberry. By switching between Badoo and Sandile, he'll heal the least amount since Badoo resists his draining moves, causing him to use Thunder Wave on the turn Sandile is in. This just leaves Houndour, which no longer has the option to switch. I lose this attempt without the poison proc. I level up my team to increase my odds of having healthy enough Pokemon after Mightyena, and this time bait Impidimp into the loop earlier. Again, when Houndour is sent in, as long as I get the poison on the first turn, I win, and this time it works. Immediately after, I use the Dex Nav to chain Teddiuruses that have a chance to be holding Citrus Berries, which would have been helpful for the Archer fight, whoops. Rival 1 leads with Kirlia, who has the moves Magical Leaf, Confusion, and Disarming Voice. By switching to Houndour, he'll immediately switch to Rockruff, who has Howl, Bite, and Rock Tomb. Since Rock Tomb still doesn't make contact, I need to stall it out by switching between Staravia and Sandile. While running out of rocks, he uses Howl often, which, like before, gets cancelled out by Intimidate. Once he's out of both, he'll switch back into Kirlia, who I can stall out of Confusion and Magical Leaf by switching between the Dark-type Sandile and Sapsipper user Skiddo. This causes him to switch back into Rockruff before using most of the PP. With only Bite left, I try for the early Poison Point, and luckily get it. I switch between Dark-resistant Pokemon while he switches back and forth a couple of times before Charmeleon is sent in. He has Ember and Scratch as his relevant moves. Before I can poison him, Rival 1 switches to Staravia. I lower her attack before trying to poison her, so I get extra chances considering how far into the fight I am, and luckily get it on the second try. I switch around, always bringing in Qfint every other turn since he resists both of Staravia's attacks. After she faints, Charmeleon is sent in, who after Ember is absorbed will always go for Scratch, and I get another lucky first turn poison. But due to the smart AI, when a Pokemon with low health like my Badoo is in, the enemy Pokemon will randomly pick a move to predict a switch, so Houndour gets scratched, resulting in a loss. I level up my team, and this time after Rockruff runs out of Rock Tomb and Howl, he'll switch to Charmeleon, who will use one Ember and then switch back to Rockruff. Rockruff will then immediately switch into Charmeleon, and the cycle of one Ember being used every 20 seconds continues. Once Ember is finally out of PP, he'll switch into Kirlia. After a lot of mindless switching, he'll switch into Staravia. At -2, I try Poison Point, which works on the first try. I switch between Qfint and Sandile to minimize damage until she faints. The next relevant thing to happen is that after 3 scratches, Poison Point finally works on Charmeleon. I stall out his health and Citrus Berry by switching between Qfint and Skiddo. Rockruff's first bite leaves Roselia at 1 HP, and in her dying breath, Roselia gets the clutch poison I needed. By switching between Sandiles, I minimize the damage taken before Rockruff faints. I once again stall Kirlia out of Magical Leaf and Confusion by switching between Skiddo and Sandile respectively. I haven't mentioned this yet, but for some important fights I need to count PP to know exactly when the opponent will run out of a certain move to plan my switches accordingly. Because of that, I know Rival 1 is almost out of Magical Leaf and Confusion, while he still has all 15 PP on Disarming Voice. So I began switching between Qfint and Houndour. This way he will only have Disarming Voice left, meaning it would hit any incoming Pokemon as opposed to just Q-Fin with proper switching order. It's also worth mentioning that it's best to have all Pokemon slowly take damage instead of one remaining at full HP. This way you don't softlock a fight by having a single Pokemon at 90% health and no other one to switch into during the final turns. It gets super close and I only have 2 low health Pokemon left after the last Disarming Voice was used, but my team is just healthy enough to survive the 4 struggles. Nugget Bridge has never felt so long, but I do it for you guys, and I don't even ask for anything in return. Huh? The last hard fight blocking one of the most important Pokemon in this playthrough was Rival 1, and that Pokemon, no, I don't want to join Team Rocket. Fine, but let's make this quick. Wait, Dragon Rage? Why do I suddenly have the urge to overlevel my Pokemon? I can't do that since I'm following the level cap, but this Axew just spams Dragon Rage, which always does exactly 40 damage. That's way too much damage for my team to tank, and it doesn't even make contact. I was pretty close to a powerful Pokemon too, but it looks like it's over. Oh wait, it also has Cross Chop. So now I know I can poison her, but I still take a lot of damage. Actually, I was gonna talk about how difficult this fight was since I take so much damage to Dragon Rage while I still have the poison damage, and there's also a Golbat who needs to be burned, and burn does so little damage. But looking back at the wild Pokemon list, I now realize I could have just caught a Flabébé and it would have been really easy, so I'm just stupid. Moving on. The last hard fight blocking one of the most important Pokemon for this playthrough that was hard for reasons other than my own ineptitude was Rival 1, and that Pokemon is Audino. This is the earliest Pokemon in the game that can come with the ability Regenerator, an ability that heals the user for 33% of its health whenever it switches out. If you somehow didn't think this ability was overpowered, you will soon because holy crap, it's so good, oh my god. It's not a hidden ability for this Pokemon, but even if it was, the Dex Snap allows you to get hidden abilities of Pokemon you already caught. Let's dive into why this is so good in the fight against Misty. I still have to account for the boss AI switching aimlessly with Struggle, so I poison Frogadier on the flip turn. The Starmie has Water Pulse, Psybeam, Icy Wind, and Recover. That might even be an issue where I might need a specific team composition to counter it and the remaining Pokemon with only 6 team slots. This is where Regenerator does its magic. Simply by switching between Audinos, I heal enough where it's like the attack never happened. Only it did, and the enemy is losing PP, meaning they're getting closer to Struggle. The Stab, Water Pulse, and Psybeam weren't doing enough damage to make an actual dent in my Audinos, so it's no surprise Icy Wind doesn't either. Once it only has Recover left, Misty switches to Frogadier, who can't do anything if I switch between Audino and my Water Absorbed Poliwhirl, who I trained and didn't end up being necessary, but was undeniably there. At least she speeds up Frogadier's damage by stopping the flip turn. I do have some mercy though, and let her switch into Starmie, who uses all of its PP and struggles once before switching back into the Frog. The fight isn't over until I poison Floatzel thanks to Starmie's natural cure, and the first fake out spreads the poison. Now Misty can switch all she wants. Floatzel will always take damage at the end of the turn, meaning I win. Regenerator's looking pretty good right about now, huh? After all this, I need a bit of a break. If you liked the video and want to see the other parts, make sure to subscribe. Leave a like and comment if you're feeling extra daring today. Like, maybe let me know if you think I'll actually beat the challenge. I already have the whole thing recorded, but I'll never tell. Oh, whoops.